Good morning, everyone. So, from today onwards, we are starting with class 12 contemporary world politics. When we talk about this NCR, it is very important from the perspective of GS1 paper, that is the world history part, and GS2 paper, that is international relations. And also for the students belonging to the political science optional and history optional, this book becomes very important. So our target in this series will be reading this NCERT and connecting it with the UPSC mains answer writing. Okay, so now let's begin with chapter number 1, that is the Cold War era. Now when we talk about the Cold War era, the timeline ranges from 1945 to 1991. 1945 because the Second World War ends, and with the end of the Second World War we see the rise of the two superpowers, that is the United States of America and Soviet Union. So this was basically a fight between these two superpowers. 1990 it ends, reason being 1991 there is the disintegration of Soviet Union. Now when we see onto this term the Cold War, why the term cold is used? रीजन इज बिकॉज नो एक्चुअल वॉर टुक प्लेस, कोई एक्चुअल बैटल ग्राउंड पे वॉर नहीं हुई थी, बट इट वॉज बेसिकली द वॉर ऑफ आइडियोलॉजी बिटवीन टू नेशन, वेर यूएसए फॉलोड द कैपिटलिस्ट आइडियोलॉजी, जिसको हम पूंजीवाद भी कहते हैं, वर्सेस द आइडियोलॉजी ऑफ मार्क्सिज्म और कम्युनिज्म, which was followed by USSR. Both were fighting over which ideology is better to be used in the various political and economic spheres. Now, during this Cold War era, one important change is also noticed, that is the emergence of non-alignment movement. Yes, when the world was divided into two blocks on the rivalry of ideologies, वहां पे थर्ड वर्ल्ड कंट्रीज वर वरिड दैट दे हैव रिसेंटली गेन्ड इंडिपेंडेंस एंड देन अगेन दे आर इन द प्रेशर ऑफ ज्वाइनिंग वन ऑफ द ब्लॉक्स. सो हियर इंडिया केम विद वन ऑफ द पॉलिसीज, दैट इज नॉन अलाइनमेंट पॉलिसीज. That means it won't join USA either, nor it would join the USSR. It side with any of the power blocks and have its own stance and follow the new economic international order. Now what was this? This was the new international economic order, means the policies they will adopt will be based on their own needs and political conditions which were there in the third world developing nations. Okay, so this was a brief of Cold War. Now let's come to page number 2, that is the Cuban Missile Crisis. See, when we talk about Cuban Missile Crisis, this is very important topic because a direct question has been asked in 2013 GS1 paper on Cuban Missile Crisis, and then again in year 2015, 2021 the question is asked in PSIR optional. So this topic is directly or indirectly very important to us. Now before talking about Cuban Missile Crisis, I would like to give you a brief gist that this is the USA portion, USA, and here is a small island nation, that is Cuba. Okay, I hope it's visible. And here this portion is whole Europe area and this is USSR. Okay, now this area, these Western European nations were occupied by USA. Okay, whereas the Eastern European nations were occupied by USSR. दोनों ब्लॉक्स में डिवाइडेड थे. Now in these Western European nations, USA has deployed the military arsenals and the nuclear weapons. So this was a direct attack or direct threat to the borders of USSR, because USA तो Atlantic Ocean से separated था by a larger distance, but USSR के border पे there was a lot of nuclear arsenals being deployed. Okay, then we here see that Cuba portion. Now क्यूबा में उस पर्टिकुलर टाइमलाइन में रूल कर रहे थे Fidel Castro. Now Fidel Castro had communitarian ideology, means USSR backed ideology. So USSR clubbed with Cuba and used Cuba as a base where they started deploying nuclear submarines and all the nuclear warfares. Now this was seen as a direct threat by USA to its territory. Now because Cuba was in close proximity, now this threat was perceived by USA as a sign of war. So उस टाइम पर US में प्रेसिडेंट थे John F. Kennedy. So here John F. Kennedy directly ordered American warships to intercept any Soviet ships heading to USA as a direct warfare signal. So this is how the war, a small nation, was utilized as a proxy ground for warfare between the two blocks at that time. Basically, इसको अगर international relations के term में keyword use किया जाए तो this was nothing other than the security dilemma. Now, what is security dilemma? Security dilemma basically means like when one nation increases its warfare capacity or the nuclear arsenals, the other country which is in rivalry to it will also increase, so that when a time comes they can retaliate, or even if the actual war does not happen, they have the answer that they have equal capacity of attacking capability. So this is how, even in present times, this is very valid, because when we talk about India and Pakistan, जब India nuclear warfare का test करती है, Pakistan on the other hand does the same, अपनी capacity बढ़ाती है. Reason being क्योंकि threat को balance करने के लिए. Why India has nuclear weapon? Because it is sandwiched between two nuclear power states. So it is very important to have that warfare that you can challenge the other nation. इसी को हम keywords में बोलते हैं security dilemma. So basically Cuban Missile Crisis एक बहुत ही brim point था Cold War का. The actual war just did not happen, but it was coming on to page number 3. Cuban Missile Crisis we have done. Now what is Cold War? When we talk about Cold War, here they have given a brief background that during the Second World War, there were two groups. One was elite bloc and one was Axis bloc. In the elite blocs, there were USA, USSR, France, and Britain. On one hand, they were a group, and in the Axis bloc were Germany, Japan, and Italy. So now, what happened? Now here you can see that till the time of Second World War, USA and USSR were in the same bloc, that is elite group. Then war that they both became rivals. So here there are many reasons. Firstly, because USSR felt betrayed on many occasions, like when we talk about Manhattan Project. Manhattan Project was a plan of dropping the bomb on Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Now USSR alleged that all the nations along with USA, France and Britain knew about this, but USSR came to know very late. So it was thought as a betrayal. Along with that, when USSR army was fighting with Germany army, there USSR lost many soldiers of its own, and it asked for help from USA, France and Britain, which came very late till the time USSR had lost a lot of lives and people. So it is termed as D-Day, delayed help from these elite group people. Also, after the elite war, when USA dropped the bomb, now the question arises, who is superior? So here the superiority thing became a major concern, and both had differing ideologies. So now USA wanted to assert that capitalist is the best way, and USSR on the other hand wanted to assert that communism is the best way to rule the nation. So this is how the Cold War and the ideological war between two started. Okay. Now when we talk about the dropping of the bomb, some critics point out that already the Japan was about to surrender, but it was unnecessary to drop the bomb. USA just dropped the bomb to prove its hegemony or supremacy. This was also the thing perceived by USSR as Dominic action. Okay, so this is how the Cold War started. Now when we talk about the Cold War, this is very sure that it was the emergence of the USA and USSR rivalry. Okay, but why it remained cold? Why it did not turn into actual war? So this paragraph defines the reasons of why it did not turn into actual war. Reason being because both the nations knew that the nuclear weapon caused the destruction which is unacceptable to each other. अगर full-fledged तरीके से nuclear weapons का use किया जाए, they would devastate the nations, and at the end it would not benefit any of the nation even if you emerge victorious, because both had the nuclear weapons. इसको हम अगर keywords में बोलें या कोई terminology use करें, it was because of the MAD doctrine, जिसके कारण ये war actual war में turn नहीं हुई. MAD doctrine stands for mutually assured destruction. Yes, it means that when two nations, suppose USA attacks USSR. Now USSR also has the nuclear weapons and it is also fighting to prove its supremacy. So it would attack USA with the double capacity, and to retaliate this, USA again would attack with triple capacity. So this way a series of attacks would go on, and at the end no one would be the winner. Only thing that will happen is devastation at a larger scale. So it was a mad doctrine or mutually assured destruction. Cold War did not turn into the hot war or the actual war, because it was thought that when you have these nuclear weapons, it is your responsibility to act responsibly and rationally. Okay, so these are the reasons. Now, when we talk about that, when only two nations were involved, how it led to the bloc formation. Now, when we see the map of Europe, now this yellow portion, these countries which are a part of Western European nations, these became the part of US-led bloc, while the Eastern nations like Poland, Germany, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania became part of USSR. Okay, so Europe got divided into two blocks, one the Western Allies and one the Eastern Allies. That is why it is also termed as the Eastern and the Western bloc. Because reason being, these small nations like Poland, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, what happened? These were the small nations, also termed as satellite nations. They were devastated in the war. Now they need the financial and the political economic support, which was offered by USSR to these countries, and over here USS offered the support. Now USA launched one of the plans. You might have heard about Marshall Plan. Now, under Marshall Plan, USA said that it would help the war-torn countries of Europe with financial aid for their economic development and infrastructure development. Now, this needs to be seen from the angle of IR. Now, when we take it from the angle of IR, the reason why USA launched Marshall Plan was not out of some good deed, but because offering the financial aid means bringing those smaller nations in its control, bringing them under the ideology of the capitalist bloc, because Germany and France were the two major nations who received the maximum aid, around 26% and 13% respectively. So they became a part of the new bloc that was led by these, that is NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So here we can see that USA का जो Marshall Plan था basically was an ideology, किसी फायदे के लिए किया गया था. This is still relevant in today's time. चाइना BRI बना रहा है, बेल्ट एंड रोड इनिशिएटिव, छोटी छोटी कंट्रीज को लोन प्रोवाइड करता है. एंड हाउ डज इट फॉलो? डेट ट्रैप डिप्लोमेसी. दिस इज सेम लाइक दैट ऑफ मार्शल प्लान. यस, remember one thing about international relations: there are no free lunches in international relations, and that is again proved by Marshall Plans, present day BRI initiative, and the debt trap diplomacy. So these are the keywords that you should use in your answers, because they would earn you extra marks. Okay, so Eastern Western blocks we are done with. Now here the green colored nations, these are the third world countries which recently gained independence from. So apart from NATO, now NATO was formed in 1949. This year needs to be noted down. 1949 is the year of formation of NATO. That is why at some places it is mentioned that 1949 was the beginning of Cold War, because यहाँ से block formation होता है and expansion of the rivalry started. That is why. Okay. Now, after this, in retaliation of NATO, USSR forms Warsaw Pact. Warsaw Pact was a group of countries. These countries which are a part of USSR. Now, when USSR formed Warsaw Pact, then again it was balanced. So, how will USA react? Then again, the story further escalates. Now, USA to retaliate went into the Southeast Asia, West Asia, and the Middle East, and formed another organizations known as SEATO and CENTO. That is Southeast Asian Treaty Organization and Central Treaty Organization. So, this is how the expansion was carried out one after the another. And now, when USA entered Asian countries, so why not USSR? USSR clubbed with China, communist China, to form its own bloc. So this is how the expansion and the bloc formation occurred during the Cold War. This is how the bloc formation occurred. But what about the significance? How each party was getting benefited? When we talk about these satellite nations or the smaller nations which benefited in certain ways, like they got economic aid, they got financial aid from them, and also they were being redeveloped from the devastating effects of the Second World War. Now, how these were helpful for the superpowers. Now, superpowers were also benefited in certain ways, like these served as a vital resource such as oils and minerals. Their territories served as a grounds where weapons and troops could be launched, like we talked about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Cuba क्या था, एक territorial help के through use हो रहा था. Another was a location from where they could spy on each other. Also, the economic support was given by many smaller allies in form of military expenses and military personnel. So this is how it was a both way benefit. Now, when we come on to the next heading, it is arena of Cold Wars. Now here arena means the battleground where the proxy wars were being held on the other territories, like the Cuban Missile Crisis in Cuba. Another is Berlin. Now, when we talk about Berlin, let me show you the map once. When there was a distribution of the Europe into East and West. Now, these western chunk went to USA, whereas this eastern chunk went to USSR. Now, Berlin was situated over here in the Eastern Bloc, which went to USSR. Now, we know any capital territory, be it of any nation, be it of any city, is very well developed. Same was the case with Berlin. So, why the benefit would go to Russia? As a result, the city of Berlin was divided into two parts. The West Berlin, which went to USA, and the East Berlin, which went to USSR. It was divided into two parts. Here we can see that one part went to French sector, one British sector, one American sector, this whole belonging to the capitalist ideology. Okay, and this east part went to USSR belonging to the communitarian ideology. Now, after this division, there was one thing observed, that the western part and the USA developed very well. वहां पे बहुत अच्छी लाइवलीहुड हो गई थी लोगों की, एंड इट वाज अ वेरी वेल डेवलप्ड पार्ट. वाइल ईस्टर्न बर्लिन में वहां पे अभी भी पॉवर्टी एग्जिस्ट कर रही थी, एंड इट वाज नॉट वेरी डेवलप्ड एंड कंडीशंस वर नॉट गुड. एज अ रिजल्ट वी स्टार्टेड ऑब्जर्विंग माइग्रेशन फ्रॉम ईस्ट बर्लिन टू वेस्ट बर्लिन ऑन अ लार्जर स्केल. To stop this migration, USA started building a wall between East and West Berlin, and this came to be known as the incident which is known as Berlin Wall. So this Berlin became an area of Cold War. Okay, so now another one is here mentioned Korea. Now, when we talk about Korea, Korea was also divided into North Korea, which went to capitalist ideology under USA, and South Korea, which went under USSR. Similar happened with Vietnam. Vietnam also got divided between North under USA and South under USSR. So there was a factual division between ideologies in different nations and different blocks, and this is how the whole world got divided between various ideologies. Now, here comes the role of NAM. Okay, now NAM not only just maintained the neutral alliance, it also helped in mediation process. There was mediation done by NAM when there was a war in between North Korea and South Korea. Okay, similar mediation was done by UN Secretary General. Okay, because it was time and again getting realized that Cold War should not turn into a hot war, because the world has seen the devastating effect of nuclear bombing in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And then the question arose between themselves that what if some misunderstanding takes place, miscommunication takes place, or what happened if some accident occurred with a nuclear weapon? What if some mischievously shots of the nuclear weapon? What if any leader of the country know it was an accident and not an act of sabotage, or enemy could have done it? So these questions came to the forefront. What will happen? So to control these kind of conditions, so to save future, there were talks about the arms control in 1960. Yes, यहाँ से arms control की talks start होती हैं, and various treaties like Test Ban Treaty, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, Treaty and Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty came in the role. Okay, so you need to study all these treaties separately, because they will be asked in prelims also, and they can be asked in mains as well, directly or indirectly. So your task is to research about all these treaties separately and study them. Now, next is challenges to bipolarity. When the whole world was getting divided into capitalist and communist ideology, the third world countries were worried that they have recently gained independence and all their economy is shattered and poverty was the main issue over there. So they should rather focus on economic development than on joining any of the blocs. So here India took a stance, and Yugoslavia's Joseph Boric, India's Jawaharlal Nehru, Egypt's leader Gamal Abdel Nasser, Indonesia's Sukarno, and Ghana's leader thus supported and formed an alliance that came to be known as non-alignment movement. So the non-alignment movement was basically a result of friendship or cooperation among these five nations and the growing Cold War tension, which necessitated them to take particular stance so that they could save their economies and politics. Okay, and it was a rise of the newly developed African countries that were coming to the forefront after gaining independence. So this is how NAM formed and gave a direct challenge to the superiority of the power blocks over there. Okay, now NAM played a role in mediation between the two rival blocs for peace and stability. So basically, it was not like they just wanted to maintain a neutrality in terms of war in joining any of them, but they were not aloof from them. They were participating, but for mediation, for peace and stability, not for the war they were. So here neutrality was a policy of staying out of war. States practicing neutrality are not required to help in war. Okay, now when we talk about Belgrade Conference in 1961, when in 1961 these five nations met along with the other member nations, NAM was talking about how to remain neutral or how to remain aloof from these warlike situations. But there was another concern, that was the economic development. So with the meeting of United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, the new international economic order came to forefront, that what our priority is to make up our economy, to solve the poverty, to develop the nations. So there came this new international economic order and the agenda shifted to economics affair also. And there were certain conditions that were being laid down, like giving least developed countries control over natural resources that were being exploited by the colonies, and also giving access to the western countries market. Also now they needed some technology for development purpose, so it was decided that they will reduce the cost of technology from the western countries and provide least developed countries with a greater role in the international economic institutions like WTO, IMF. उनमें उनको एक greater say और voice दी जाएगी. So this is how the NAM played an important role during that time. When we talk about India and Cold War, there are two things said, that how NAM was helpful in two ways. First, that it helped India to take an international decision stance, means एक sovereignty अपनी रखने का मौका मिला. Recently आजाद हुए थे, अपना एक particular stance लिया, which proves that India was a sovereign state. Okay. Now when we talk about second benefit, that was balance of superpowers against each other. Now if one superpower tried to subdue it, pressurize it, that India could join the other bloc and go to their side. So this was a basic strategic move of balancing each other. So यहाँ balance of power India जैसे nations maintain कर रहे थे via NAM. However, some critics say that it was that India didn't wanted to take a tough stance against any of the bloc. Therefore, it launched the unprincipled non-alignment movement. Another major criticism came when India signed the Treaty of Friendship and Peace with USSR. Now, India on one hand said that we are following NAM, neither aligning with USA nor USSR. On the other hand, in the year 1971, India signed this Treaty of Friendship and Peace. So this put a very big question on the legibility of NAM, that how can you say that you are not aligned when you are signing a treaty with one of the blocs. So this was one of the major critique. And then after 1991, when USSR disintegrate hota hai, then again a question was put on NAM, that now what is the relevance of NAM? Till now it was about not joining any of the blocs. Now the bipolar world turned into the unipolar world. So how will NAM role play in this unipolar world? This again put a question on NAM. So this is one of the most repeated questions and most important question, that the contemporary relevance of NAM. So remember one thing, whenever you are talking about some foreign policy or any government policy, you need to balance it out. You need to write down its relevance. So when we talk about NAM's relevance, it is relevant even today, which is quite known from the fact that आज भी NAM की meetings होती हैं. Also, in today's time, it serves as a leader of third world countries and it is a voice to the global South nations. Yes, it serves as a voice in the platforms like WTO, World Bank, IMF, United Nations. इन सारी जगहों पे NAM एक ग्रुप की तरह ग्लोबल साउथ की वॉइस बनता है. So that is why we can say that NAM is relevant even today. Okay, so this was an end to our chapter number 1. On the next page, there are certain arms control treaty. You can just read them. They will be helpful for your prelims as well as mains. So this is how we are done with chapter number 1. Now your task is to read this chapter once more by yourself so that you can revise the concepts which are discussed in this class. And from tomorrow, we will begin with chapter number 2. Okay, thank you.